Hi, my name is Stephon Soukphaly, and I'm going to be doing a film analysis for my oral presentation for Drama 30. So today I'm going to be talking about two different films. I'm going to be talking about Stand and Delivered, and I'm going to be talking about another film called My Family. Today I'm going to be summarizing both of the movies. I'm going to then discuss the aesthetics, the social concerns, and the economic ideas that lies behind both of them and a nice, neat package, hopefully. All right, let's get this train going. So I'm going to start off with discussing My Family. The film starts off in the 1930s with a man named Paco, and he immigrates to America over a course of time, and then he meets his to-be future wife, Maria. In the beginning, they both have struggles, and when she's pregnant with his first child, she is then deported, even though she's an American citizen, by the government. And then 2 years later, with her son Chucho in hand, they make their journey to America, and then Paco and Maria are able to start the rest of their family and giving birth to other members of the family, such as Jimmy, Tony, and some other children, as I will mention later on. Um, what this film does in the beginning, it shows the different struggles of each character, as Chucho has his struggles with being in a gang, and it really takes off after the wedding of his sister. He kills another a member of a rival gang, and then he dies. And in witness of that death was his younger brother Jimmy. And fast forward a couple years when they're all adults, this death of Chucho has a lasting effect on Jimmy, as he fills in a life of crime and no good doing and stuff like that. He ends up going to jail, and then when he comes out, he, lives out his life as he would until his sister Tony arrives with her husband David, and trying to shelter a political refugee named Isabel, they convince Jimmy to marry her so that she can stay a citizen in the United States. Um, Long story short, they have some resentment towards each other as Isabel wants to be a married couple with Jimmy, and Jimmy's kind of disassociating himself with her as he doesn't see the marriage as legitimate. They eventually do fall in love with each other, and they do end up getting married and having a kid, but she dies during childbirth, and then this death sends him into depression, and then he robs the store and goes back to prison, leaving his son to then be taking care of his parents. And then eventually he gets out of prison and he tries working a good job and convincing that his son that he's his dad, but struggles of trying to identify himself as his son or having his son admit that Jimmy is his father. And then to turn his life around, they try going to Texas and finding each other, leaving the rest of the family behind. The next movie I want to talk about really quick is Stand and Delivered. Stand and Delivered is about a teacher named Jaime Escalante, and he teaches at a school named James A. Garfield High School in Los Angeles. But the thing about this is that um, Jaime was originally there to teach for computers, but then is assigned in mathematics as they don't have the equipment and they can't afford it. And these students are students that have low motivation or no inclination into education or invested in learning at all. So what his struggle is that Mr. Escalante has to turn everything around and motivate all the different students to overcome their interpersonal struggles with school, family, and with self-doubt. And they basically go on and then they take the AP test after learning mathematics and everything like that. And then they're accused of cheating on the test as their scores do not match what their school's record was with education and taking tests and stuff like that, as they were never seen as passing the AP exam. Then they study again, and then they take the AP exam again to prove themselves that yes, they are capable and that they are able to do these things. So the next part I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about three different things. I'm going to talk about first aesthetics. So in both of the films, they manipulate lighting and colors and clothing in a way that really emulate the mood. So in terms of lighting, during the wedding of in my family, they use a lot of light colors. Their clothing was very colorful, and things were very bright. things are very bright, very colorful, no dark colors at all to symbolize happiness and everything like that. And another turn of everything else is that when Chucho was killed by the LAPD, the colors were dark, they were moody, they were blue. Everything was just a very sad and very somber attachment to that. So that's how it was used in my family. In Stand Delivered, color was also used in a very similar fashion. As the beginning of the movie, a lot of the characters, well, students, wore dark colors as to show that they didn't really show any interest. They didn't really have any self-confidence for school or anything like that. Then later on, it was upgraded around the end of the movie. They were all wearing white or brighter colors to symbolize that, like, yes, we can do this, and that they have built confidence from that initial start of the movie. So next I'm going to talk about the social concerns. The three things I really want to highlight is the different hardships that each one of these movies went through. As in my family, it was a struggle against the system and them being Latinos. Um, as they faced, like as I said earlier, when Maria was being deported and stuff like that, or when Isabel was being sent back to her country, like it was a matter of color and them being of Latino descent, and that they were put in those situations in the first case. And the same thing with Chucho dying, that was because that he was Latino. The police were out to not just arrest him, they were out to kill him, just because of him being Latino. Stand Deliver has a very similar sense in that the high school is mostly a Latino populated high school, with that being the majority of their population. They don't have any funding. They don't really have any educational goals or anything like that, as they are barely trying to keep afloat with their students and stuff like that. And that's all due to them being Latinos. If it was a white school or something like that, then they will receive more funding, their students would be more inclined, and they would have a better political background and stuff like that. And the last thing I want to talk about is the economic ideas. So in both cases, well, let's just focus on my family first, is that they are very poor. They live in a barrio, like they lived in a very poor, secluded area, which allowed them to develop all these senses of crime with Jimmy and Chucho, especially of how they went into crime themselves. It's just that they were surrounded by individuals of a like-mindedness, and they didn't really have an inclination for school or anything like that, so they were kind of put into that. And then for work reasons, they were not really that great. They didn't really get any great jobs, as the father would work, as a construction person or no, landscaper. And Maria was initially a babysitter and caregiver. Um, this changed with one of their sons being a lawyer and stuff like that, but it was a very contrast idea between high class being a high class lawyer and them living in a barrio and stuff like that. Stand Delivered has very similar thing, as as all the students come from very hardworking backgrounds. They don't really make as much money. They had a lot of problems with coping and seeing if they can do better jobs and stuff like that. It's just that they couldn't see their own economic rise. And with that, I kind of want to conclude that it was a pleasure watching both of these films and summarizing uh, both of the films' aesthetics, social concerns, and economic ideas. And I hope you enjoyed my discussion, and thank you very much for listening.